Hey, welcome back to the Movement Network with Bart, and today we're going to talk about a fight that I completely got wrong. It's important for us if we're making these videos and trying to be influencers, at least in the eyes of many sports followers, especially in boxing, to admit when we're right, and most importantly, to admit when we are wrong. I thought Pretty Boy Josh Kelly was going to be able to catch David Avanesian coming in with some strong shots and maybe stop him. I think that was my prediction. I did think that Josh Kelly was going to be able to stop David Avanesian. Unfortunately, to my surprise, we started seeing the destruction of Josh Kelly starting at round 4, but definitely on round 5, I realized, at least myself, that Josh Kelly was in trouble. And it's unfortunately because he started off, at least for me, very sharp. He had the Philly stand going on and all that, and which I'm gonna get into. I think Josh Kelly needs a lot of help. I think he was he seemed gassed by round 4, the end of round 4, at least to me. Maybe making the weight, he struggled making the weight. He looked very, very big on Saturday, and I personally don't see him coming back at 147 pounds welterweight. I see him coming back at least at 154, and then losing some, or either if he doesn't come back at 154. Definitely losing some muscle mass. He looked huge on Saturday, and it's funny because this fight kind of reminded me the way that it shipped out, the way that it planned out. After watching the fight, I couldn't help but to think about Triple G versus Kell Brook and the way that fight played out many years ago. For me, this fight it kind of reminded me of that fight, which is, it's a shame that it happened. I'm a good fan of Josh Kelly, big fan. Well, I still am. I'm not one of those that think just because a fighter has a loss in his record, we should abandon him. I don't. Josh Kelly, 10 fights, 10-1, a total of 12 bouts, 10-1, 6 KOs, 1 loss. Unfortunately, that 1 loss was Saturday versus Avanesian, and he got stopped and 1 draw. Now, Saturday, if you're a boxing fan, Saturday was a phenomenal day for you. I mean, we got the Vardez Verchette fight. Wow, what a fight. If you haven't watched me break down that fight and talk about that fight, you can go back and see it. A sensational fight. I said it once and I'll say it again. As of right now, I know that just, it's the beginning of the year, but I don't see anyone getting a better KO. So I do, as of now, have that fight, not that fight, that KO as KO of the year. And wow, what a phenomenal KO. But sticking with this fight, I do see Pretty Boy Josh Kelly struggling to stay at 147 pounds welterweight, for many, 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 many reasons. Simply because if he had a hard time with Avanesian, he will have an extremely, extremely hard time facing the top American fighters as with Terrence Crawford, Earl Spence Jr., Manny Pacquiao. He's not American, from the Philippines. Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Ugas, Virgil Ortiz, Jarrell James, who else? Even having a hard time with Lipinets. I do see Josh Kelly at the moment having a hard time with Lipinets. And it seems to me that Josh Kelly was doing really, really well, and then he just gassed out. And after the fight, I started thinking that maybe that's why Adam Booth, his trainer, wanted to have this fight a 10-round fight, 10 rounds instead of 12. Maybe it had something to play with the fact that he knew something that we didn't know. Maybe he knows that Josh Kelly cannot make the weight. or either doesn't condition himself the way he should be conditioning himself, or maybe that, they try to pack on so much weight and so much muscle so that Evanesian shots would not hurt Josh Kelly as much as what it should had he been, a couple pounds lighter. I think Booth has overhyped Josh Kelly a little bit. Not to the media, but to Josh Kelly. I think Adam Booth has done a good job telling Josh Kelly he's the best thing out there since sliced bread. And that's not the case. That is not the case. We've seen Josh Kelly struggle. And we've seen Josh Kelly do stupid things in the ring. And unfortunately, this time it caught up to him. He has the Philly shell, which it's not for him. I think Josh Kelly, if he's going to have the Philly shell, he should go and change his trainer, which I'm going to get into that again, as I stated. By the way, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you like the video. Josh Kelly needs to abandon the Philly shell and needs to abandon the reflexes that he has. He needs to abandon putting his hands down. He got caught with silly shots. He should have never gotten caught with a lot of silly shots. Josh Kelly needs to just go right back to the basic. Throwing the jab from just keeping the hand right over and just letting it go and coming right back up instead of bringing it from the bottom, from the hip up. Josh Kelly needs to abandon that as soon as possible. I think Booth has done the best he can with Josh Kelly, but it's Josh Kelly's in a crossroad, right? He can either stay with Adam Booth and start taking in more of what Adam Booth has to offer instead of Adam Booth working with Josh Kelly. And Adam Booth conforming himself a bit more to Josh Kelly style. It should be the other way around. Josh Kelly needs to conform himself more to Adam Booth style, which is kind of weird, but that's the only way that relationship is going to work. But if you ask me personally, I think Josh Kelly should abandon Adam Booth and train, and hear me out here, because a lot of people are going to have a hard time with this one, and train with Floyd Mayweather Sr. And the reason why I say that is because, and before I answer this, I just want to let you guys know that I know what happened to the other guy from across the pond that came over and trained with Floyd Mayweather Sr. and got knocked out and humiliated. And he was never the same after Manny Pacquiao was done with him. And I'm talking about this only one Ricky Hatton. Okay? But Ricky Hatton does not possess, never did, never will possess the talent that Josh Kelly has. Ricky Hatton, he's just one of those fighters with the bell rings. He's just going to go forward. He's just going to start throwing punches. And he was great at it. I was, when he was boxing, a huge fan of Ricky Hatton. So if you're thinking that, just understand there's two different kind of fighters. Josh Kelly is not the same kind of fighter. Doesn't have the same style as Ricky Hatton. So this matchup, this marriage between Floyd Mayweather Sr. coaching a fighter like Josh Kelly will be a perfect marriage. I think it will be a great, a perfect combination. And I do think Josh Kelly needs to get away from his hometown, needs to get away from Great Britain. He needs to come to the States, as we've seen a lot of great fighters do, especially when Emmanuel Stewart was around. And Lewis came over, heavyweight, and he was able to coach him, and you know the story. He became one of the best heavyweights ever of our era. Now, I do think Josh Kelly should consider leaving Adam Booth and coming to the States and training with none other than Floyd Sr. Now, with that said, should Josh Kelly stay at 147 pounds? I don't think so. I think Josh Kelly should look at himself, and he's a big boy. He's 26 years old, yes, but he's a big boy. Josh Kelly is a big boy, and he needs to move up in weight or start losing all that muscle mass that he has. Now, one of the questions that I asked myself watching this fight, what would have happened if Conor Benn would have fought Evanesian or Josh Kelly? I do think that Josh Kelly possessed enough talent to beat Conor Benn. I know it's not. You guys are not gonna like it. Overseas, you guys love Conor Benn because mostly because of his dad. But I do think Josh Kelly, it's a whole style makes fight, and Josh Kelly has enough talent to beat a Conor Benn. Now it's funny because I do also see Conor Benn beating Avanesyan. I do. I just see Josh Kelly losing. I see Josh Kelly beating Conor Benn, but Conor Benn beating Avanesyan, David Avanesyan. It's weird how things work, right? But welcome to boxing. Now, what we saw, getting back to the fight, it seems to me that the eternal matchup in boxing, seeing whether the speed beats pressure and power, that always intrigues us as boxing fan. And in this case, power and pressure was able to beat speed, which if you're a Floyd Mayweather fan, it never happened. As you know, Floyd Mayweather's speed and agility and boxing skill was always 50-0. So that's one of the reasons why I would love it if Josh Kelly comes over and trains with Floyd Sr. I don't know what else to say. I truly do think that Josh Kelly should have won this fight, but he's young. He could recover. He still has a lot of talent. The thing is, he's in a I don't know if Adam Booth is able to train someone with the talent that Josh Kelly possesses, because Josh Kelly has a lot of talent, but he has a lot of bad habits that he has not been able to fix. He likes to pull out with his hands up, with his hands down. It just has a lot of stuff that I think that Floyd Mayweather Sr. will be able to fix with no problem. I want to thank you guys for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. I have a lot of content coming out. I'm also going to be doing a quick analysis of some fights, which I think you guys are going to enjoy. Like, comment, and subscribe. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.